Okay, so now let's get on to a critique or supplement to Girard's work. So the way I want to describe this is, I think that Girard, he's right about the whole resentment thing, right? That if you only go halfway with the crucifixion, yes, it exposes your violence, but it doesn't get rid of your desire for wholeness and completeness. It just means that you realize that everything you try to get won't fulfill that. It exposes that the scapegoat mechanism is our own violence, right? But you still can be resentful. So I'm not going to kill you. I realize that if I kill you, it's not endorsed by the gods. It's not something that is justified. It is a great evil. I can still resent you. I'm just not going to kill you, right? Now, this is where Žižek comes in. So Žižek says, well, Girard has only gone halfway, because you are not freed from resentment by the revelation of the scapegoat mechanism. In order to be free from resentment, you have to be confronted with the reality that the other person is just as riven with desire as you are. That there is no individual with a plenitude of being. That this is a fantasy. It's only when you grasp that you can get to forgiveness. That violence becomes resentment, and resentment becomes forgiveness. Forgiveness is the recognition that the other lacks as well. And the reason why that's forgiveness is because it detaches you from the excessive desire of the other and the violence you want to do to the other. And one of the ways that Žižek approaches this is through defining the difference between envy and jealousy. So envy has three elements. It's a triangular thing, and I've mentioned this. So in envy, there is me, there is you, and there is what you have. And I envy you because I want what you have, and I want to get rid of you in order to get that partner, that job, that money, that product. Jealousy is kind of has two elements, not three. In jealousy, there is me and there is you in relation to your commodity, your object, right? The best way to think about this is in terms of love, right? In envy, right, I fancy your partner. So there is me, there is you, and there's your partner. In jealousy, I don't fancy your partner. I desire the oneness that you and your partner have. So it's not your partner that I want. It's not that object that I want. It is the oneness, the wholeness, the happiness that the two of you seem to have. And this is what Žižek digs down into. He says that until you can break jealousy, until you can break the fantasy that there is someone out there who has the thing that will make them complete, the person, the job, the whatever, then resentment will never be able to disappear at all. There will be resentments, and violence will eventually erupt again. And take an example of somebody in my line of work who's a writer, and maybe they're like really popular, they've sold millions of copies of books, they're doing really, really well, and I look at them and I think, my goodness, look at that, they've got the thing, they're selling all these books, they've got this lifestyle that I would love. But then I meet them and I realize that maybe they've got a better life and they're happier maybe than I am, but they're still just human, and they still have their doubts and their unknowing and their bad times and all of that they are kind of like me. That realization breaks resentment. Now, it might not break resentment. I might still go, I wish I had their life and all of that, but it breaks resentment. I no longer have this fantasy that they have this incredible life that I would love. Now, this brings us to Zizek's notion of the crucifixion. Because just like Girard, Zizek isn't interested really in the theological dimension, the confessional church, what it says. Zizek says that actually the crucifixion has this element built into it, and if it didn't, he wouldn't be interested. But as a philosopher, he goes, oh no, there's a dimension that Girard hasn't quite grasped, and of course it's the dimension of my God, why have you forsaken me? Because for Zizek, these words describe the moment when we experience God as divided, that God is divided against God's self, that God is not one with God, that it's not that I experience a distance from God, it's that God experiences a distance from God. That the separation that I feel between myself and the source of all things is actually a separation that exists within the source of all things. And Zizek says that this then is really the crux of the crucifixion. That whenever, basically, we have idols everywhere, we have gods everywhere. The gods are the things that promise wholeness and completeness. The gods are those beings that have wholeness and completeness. When you go out and you look at somebody and you're like, oh my goodness, their Instagram life, they have the thing. Not they've got a better life than you, but they have the life that I need, right? They're a god to you. And the commodities that they have are like religious commodities. And Zizek is saying that the crucifixion is the death of gods and the freedom from religious commodities. In other words, it is the recognition that God, that whatever we make as God, is internally riven, just like us, and that the commodities that they have that seem to promise wholeness and completeness won't give us that. So Christianity then is the experience of the freedom from the scapegoating mechanism, the finding violence of culture, the resentment, Nietzsche's notion of resentment, the internalization of that anger, and through forgiveness. And forgiveness is simply the experience of the other and all big others, all gods, as being internally inconsistent. That's why, for Zizek, he says you can only be an atheist by passing through the Christian experience, because for him, atheism is the recognition of the non-wholeness, the rupturing of all reality, and he says that is the Christian insight.